there's a statement from the NFL in the Britt Reid case, and I think it makes sense to address it here, Charean. The Britt Reid incident will be investigated under the personal conduct policy. Now, the Chiefs have already placed Britt Reid on administrative leave. And one of the things that you may remember that comes up when players are in trouble, there's only one track, whether it's the league, whether it's the team, because of the collective bargaining agreement. It's very clear that you can't have multiple penalties, one from the league, one from the team. With non-union employees, like coaches, they can do whatever they want. The team can take action. The league can take action. They both can take action. And it seems like that is quite possibly what's going to happen. And over the next month or two, we're going to learn a lot more about this. And this is just one of those where when you're in that period of kind of holding your breath, waiting for more evidence, there's enough circumstantial proof that's already bubbled up in the past 6 days that makes me think that what we ultimately hear may not be good for Britt Reid.
Yeah, what a difficult spot Andy Reid is in, Mike. I just can't even imagine how much hurt he's gone through. And you do wonder how much it affected him and the preparation for the Super Bowl and the decision-making that he had in the Super Bowl, too. I don't know if it affected the rest of the team, but I do think it probably affected Andy. I mean, how could it not affect you? That's your son, and you're praying for the kids who are injured and everything else that goes with that, Mike. I just can't imagine the position that Andy Reid's in right now.
Yeah, and I just don't think we appreciate and understand the extent of the disruption and the distraction that caused. We talked about that earlier in the week, but that had to have been a factor. How could it not be a factor? Yeah. As a parent, you know how you feel about your children, anyone out there that has kids, and what happens to them happens to you, and every burden that they have is a burden that you have. And when you're talking about a situation like this where your child is hospitalized, where your child has had surgery, where your child has potentially been directly responsible for a serious life-changing injury on a 5-year-old girl, how does that not throw you into a storm of emotion and turmoil and psychological torment? And you're 3 days away from one of the biggest days of your professional career. And you owe it to your team to be there. You owe it to your team to do everything you can that's in your power to help them win. But at your core, you're a human being. And Andy Reid's been through tragedy. One of his other sons died of an overdose several years ago. That doesn't make it any easier. It's like, hey, I've been through this before. I know how to deal with these tragedies. Each one stands alone. Each one is crippling to the parent, and you have to find a way to keep going. And I'm not blaming him. I'm not faulting him for it. He's human. It had to have affected him in some way in the run-up to Sunday or in the execution of the game on Sunday night, Charean.
And Mike, you look at what's gone on in Kansas City over the last week. It's been a terrible week for Kansas City. I mean, you start with the Britt Reid incident last Thursday night, a week ago, and then obviously the loss in the Super Bowl. Marty Schottenheimer dies, and then yesterday we lost Therese Paylor, former Kansas City star writer now with Yahoo, who covered the Chiefs for years. And so things have not been pretty in Kansas City over the last week, and it's unfortunate everything that's happened. And you do pray for the kids in the incident with Britt Reid and hope they come out of this alive and okay.
Unanswered questions that eventually will be answered, and the biggest one, unrelated to the extent of the impairment. And look, we've been around the block. We've heard these stories. When someone tells the cops they've had 2 or 3 drinks, what does that really mean? Right? So they'll do the toxicology. We'll get the information. And then the question will be, if there was excessive consumption, where did it happen? And when you have an accident that occurred a couple of miles away from the team facility and Britt Reid resides a half hour away on a 9 o'clock Thursday night, you start wondering, frankly, where the consumption occurred. And did the Chiefs know, or should they have known, that there was an issue like that right under their noses with all the surveillance cameras, with all the stuff they have there, with all the people who are around? You just wonder. You wonder what is eventually going to come out. And ultimately we hope for the best health of everyone involved. But, it's a serious situation. And the league is clearly taking it seriously. The Chiefs are clearly taking it seriously. And, the best news out of all of this for the Chiefs, if there is any, as you move forward, you've still got Patrick Mahomes under contract for another decade.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.